welcome back to another 1/6 scale figure video. Today is going to be my continuation or part 2 of my review of the Asmus Toys 1/6 scale Snake Plissken from the classic Escape from New York, directed by Carpenter and played by Kurt Russell. And I thought I would do just a really quick comparison of other Carpenter figures I have in the collection. The Trick or Treat Studios 78 Myers. The body is customized by myself, swapped it out with a World Box body with the seamless arms. The coveralls is the second run from Tots, the more grey. Even though it was marketed as green, it's more of a grey-green colour. And also there, the base is from Rhino, absolutely awesome base that he did. I wanted it based on the steps, pretty much the scene you see Myers like that. And to the left of Plissken, we have the Mondo McCready. Another classic Carpenter film, and another film that Kurt Russell is starring in. And this is customized by myself. I have done a video on what I've done here. I've swapped out a lot of parts, the body, put a custom hoodie on it, and replaced that awful pleather jacket that they had to a more accurate one. And yeah, what I'm thinking of doing is mostly just doing a bit of an update with what I've done with this guy and what I have in regards to future plans. I have fixed the rooted hair, the problem I had with the back portion was a minor problem. It wasn't really a big problem, to be honest, at all. But I might as well just quickly go through that and might as well do a comparison with these guys. Mostly these two here, considering they are the both portrayed by Kurt Russell. And we'll probably go through which one has the better head sculpt and likeness. So I think before I get into comparisons with the Mondo McCready likeness and the Plissken likeness of Kurt Russell here, I think it is a good segue to start off with what I did to the hair. And if you remember in my review initially, I had a bit of a problem with the back here where it didn't really look as convincing as the same hairpiece. It didn't look like a natural flow. And as you can see here, I've done the best to my ability with continuing the hairspray and giving the illusion that it is one piece. So pretty much what I did was I sprayed the hair with hairspray, and I just used a flat paintbrush and I sprayed on the brush and mixed it with water and then just gently, brushed it down and all that. And I grabbed the ends and kind of twisted them and knotted them up to kind of be as thick and full as the rest up here. And, when you look at it at a distance, you wouldn't even know that there is supposed to be a split there. Like, originally it was just stock, fluffy root hair, or wool hair, or whatever they want to call it. It wasn't product on the bottom here, and it was pretty jarring to me when I first unboxed it. But I think now it looks really, really good. You wouldn't realize that there was a split cut here to the neck to roll the eyes and move the head. And yeah, this is such a good likeness. I still think this likeness is really good. The only negative I had was the visible joints. Not necessarily because they're visible, just because how ugly and outdated this joint to body is. I mean, you got World Box and like other sculpted plastic bodies that look far more convincing than this. So I'm not sure why Asmus decided to use such an outdated piece. I mean, you can also see here just how the fabric has tucked under. I mean, to be fair, Kurt was pretty jacked in this film, so you can kind of, you know, give the illusion of muscles there. But yeah, these arms are just a bit too outdated for me. This is looking like retro Hot Toys, you know? So yeah, I'm getting a World Box body that it has joints, but it is not this jarring, and the texturing, I think, matches a little bit better to the head sculpt compared to this. And yeah, that's pretty much what I have installed in the future. And obviously just to quickly showcase what I've done to the hair. And this is something else that I think I forgot in the initial unboxing, was to show the display base a bit better. So this is the base here. This is the exclusive web edition. Kind of had to pre-order on the Asmus website in order to get this sculpture. And honestly, I love display bases when they're really diorama styled, but I feel this is a bit too much for the footprint. I think there's way too much diorama than there is actual space to put Snake on, because if you saw at the start, you can't really have him standing straight up and down on this properly without his whole boot like hanging out. And it's only flat on this particular corner where the display base is tilted to have him straight up and down. So I'm not the biggest fan of overly developed diorama bases that you can't use as bases. Similar to a lot of Hot Toys recent stuff, they've seemed to move away from just boring hexagon style bases and gone for more elaborate dioramas like this. But again, it defeats the purpose of being a base if you can't have it properly displayed. So I'll grab the figure now just quickly as an example, and you can see it's like, that's as good as you're going to get for like a standing up and down pose. You can't really adjust him up properly. He's just going to topple a bit. And the waist clamp is pretty good, so I don't really have any negatives with the waist clamp. Although I've noticed, and I'll put it down, be careful with the clamp when it comes to the accessories he has on the back, especially this. This is very flimsy. This antenna piece comes separate because you can swap it out to the extended one. And you can see it's not the best in terms of securely popped on. I would have personally loved if this was just a die cast piece that moved and functioned like an antenna instead of swapping it out. Oh, and also you can see I've fixed the pouch that popped off in my initial review. I just glued it back onto the metal plate and it's as good as new pretty much. So we've got a side by side here of MacReady on the left by Mondo and Snake Plissken on the right by Asmus Toys. And these are both supposed to be the same character, well, same actor, Kurt Russell obviously. And I think this film, the two films here I think are a year apart. I think so, if I'm correct. I think Escape from New York is 81 and The Thing is 82. So just a real big difference when it comes to just how drastic Kurt's look is between these two films. And you know, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I personally think, as much as I love Mondo the thing, and I do think it is a really good figure. I do have to admit that I think the Asmus Toys captures Kurt's likeness so much more, and I think it's maybe I think the sculpt looks a bit better. You know, I don't have a problem with the paint textures on both, because I think you've got McCready on the left there who's on the verge of frostbite. You know, there's an alien species, so he's not going to look the most healthiest. So I'm fine with the paint apps on both of them, but I just feel this strikes to me as Kurt far more than that guy there. And yeah, nothing really against the Mondo version here. I still think Mondo done a pretty good job. I mean, this is all considering that a few years ago they were doing just posters, so I still appreciate that they have done such a huge step in their company choices and started to do 1/6. And I am really keeping my eyes out on that Nada from They Live. Another Carpenter film. Yeah, I'm just really stoked that we're getting John Carpenter merch in 1/6 scale figure format. I just never thought we would have gotten anything aside from this guy here. I never thought we would get these two, you know, and the fact that we're getting more from John Carpenter's filmography is amazing. I think I mentioned it in the Mondo unboxing that I would love to get Sam Neill from In the Mouth of Madness, which is pretty insane to think that any company will make that. But I truly think Tots or Mondo are crazy enough to do that. Thought I'd bring all three in frame and just talk a little bit more about Carpenter films I love in figure format. I would really love to see the Christine Plymouth Fury in 1/6 scale. You know, you got Hot Toys doing DeLorean and Batmobiles, Ecto-1, the multiple versions. So I'd love to see maybe Blitzway do a Plymouth Fury from Christine. I think that would be awesome. And it is a pretty classic car to make in 1/6 scale. You know, give us more Carpenter films, pretty much is what I'm saying. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I didn't do a comparison again in my review and unboxing of the Asmus Toys Snake, so I thought I'd just do it as a part 2. Honestly, I was just really pissed off that the belts and straps were really difficult to pop on, and obviously one of mine broke, so that kind of made me a bit angry to continue on with my review. But I fixed it and I am much more happy now with the results of everything assembled. And I did fix the hair, so I wanted to spend a bit more time fixing the hair and futzing it and combing it correctly to make it look a bit more form-fitting. And I think I have achieved that. And future figures I have for review, I do have the Feral Predator hopefully coming on its way soon. I ordered mine from Kid like day one, so I assume I would be the first batch from his orders to get sent out. I have seen a few reviews on YouTube MRC and D Knight were like the first guys to get it, and they both have their positives and negatives when it comes to reviewing it. The figure itself, not them as reviewers. I personally love those guys, but it's interesting seeing different opinions on that figure, and I'm interested to see it in hand and give my take on it, because, you know, I love the Predator franchise and I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to the costuming and that for that creature. I do have the 3-0 Full Metal Alchemist Elric brothers that have arrived, and I quickly unboxed them and checked and see if everything was there and working well, so that's definitely going to be my next review. And yeah, hopefully there's way more in the slate and in the future. And I think that's pretty much it. So if you guys did enjoy this, make sure you like and sub, and I'll see you in the next one.